So today I'm just going to give you a quick tour of Kite. So Kite is a prototyping software, advanced prototyping software, that allows you to do some really fun things. But for the most part, the interface is pretty clean. So we're just going to start off, we'll start off right here for now. So if you look over here, we have canvas size. So you have different sorts of, and the canvas size is this gridded pattern here. So if I were to zoom out, it's this area. Click on this little button on the right of it, you'll get some predefined sizes. So if you're going to build something for the iPhone, you just click on the iPhone and you'll notice it changes. Right? And anything that you build or place inside of this area is what's going to show up in the iPhone. Right? Anything that's out here won't show up there. Okay. You have some other presentation things here. Select your cursors. I typically don't really touch this stuff. Next to the inspector here, you have a library. The library has a bunch of stuff, right? So you have layers, text, gradients, shapes, replicators. There's a bunch of things here, and we'll go through these as in next videos. But just to start off, let's just grab layer. So you can grab layer and drag it into your canvas, right? And now when you go back to the inspector, you'll notice it fills up with a bunch of different properties for this particular layer. And there's a lot of properties, a whole lot. So the cognitive load on this screen is pretty high. However, that being said, it's all pretty simple to play around with. And we're going to get into that in the next video. But anyhow, definitely poke around, look at what we have here. We have anything opacity, radius, or the shadows, transform. You can start playing around with these little things, and you notice that the little box starts to change. But yeah, so that's that. And then we have assets. Right now I don't have any assets here. However, if I were to, let's just say, if I were to import, actually I don't want to import from Sketch right now. We'll say if I just want to grab something from here, we'll say I just grab like a video. So the video shows up inside of as an asset. If it was an image, if it was an audio file, if it was a text file, that would show up there. And now it's in there and I could reference it. Right? Okay, so that's assets, libraries, inspector. Views, these are just ways of showing and hiding different parts of the IDE. This over here is pretty interesting. So here, the one I've selected right now is timeline. If you've used anything like After Effects or Flash or any product that has a timeline, this should look somewhat familiar. However, then there's also console, and if you've been using CodePen or if you use like Inspect, this is where you do a lot of your debugging, right? So you'll be printing things to here, and you can see what's going on. Because Kite does allow for coding, which is pretty awesome. And then lastly, we have this code view, right? And there's nothing there right now. Okay. All right, go back to this. We have a zoom. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? We have a timeline because we do have time. You'll notice as I move this, that time changes, and it's the same time as here. We have play, fast forward, or actually it's slow motion and rewind, right? So we have that there, same thing as here. Then we have tools, right? And the first one is the same tools, well, a subset of the tools that were in the library, right? This is a Bezier pen, So you can create little beziers, right? And this is really helpful for certain things that we'll talk about. Here's just a way to just quickly like pan around things. If you want to grab an individual object, you would grab the cursor, right? And then you have a zoom to do more precise zooming, right? All right. So after that, we have generate code, right? And what generate code does is, when you click on this, you'll actually see the code that is creating what you see on the screen here. So if you look around, for example, you'll see, like right here, we have a layer, and that layer is a rectangle. So it's not necessary to know what this means, but the only thing, the cool part about it is that it actually generates code. Eventually, this is iOS, so this isn't JavaScript. This is some other programming language, but eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if JavaScript shows up there, which would be pretty awesome. Okay, then we can export, right? And what export means, it's I can essentially create a movie. Here's some few different sort of settings that you can set up. So if I wanted to, you know what, let's just do maybe a timed, say, 3-second movie, right? Then it's going to record, and then it should be done. And then I could save my movie, right? And then you can share that, right? Actually, let's just go to my movie. And you'll notice it has your cursor too, right? So if you were actually prototyping or testing something, you can show how all the interactions and stuff work and share it with somebody. Pretty cool. You can present, and what that means is you're just going to get like a little viewer like to play the prototype, and you'll be able to interact with it. We did these. Then we have layer and pages. So layers are all the things that you add here. So we have this shape, we have this little box. If I were to add another box, that would get added here. Notice we got it got added inside. You can grab it and you can move it outside if you want. All depends on what you want to do. And lastly, we have pages, and you can create multiple pages. This is kind of weird, this little plus sign that's really hard to see. We'll create another page, right? And you'll notice this, now this is blank, right? This is blank here. So this is good for if you want to do like transitions or things like that, or this might be a whole separate place, a whole separate view that you want to keep separate so it's clean and there's not too many things going on. Keep your workspace nice and clean. And that's pretty much it. That's Kite. Oh, actually, what I was going to show you is if you go back to timeline, if you go to libraries, so these things, a lot of these you can drag onto layers. So for example, if I want to grab basic animation, I could drag it onto a layer, right? And then this is how the timeline starts to look. So you have your layer, you have animation, thing that I added on top of it, and if I were to go to my timeline, you can start to play around with what that looks like. So I want it to actually happen, right in the beginning. I can stretch it out, and we're going to get further in this in the next video when we talk about animation. But yeah, so that's it for now.